almost like a documentary play, and all the dialogue and anything that's said in the play were from real interviews. So this is our scene. Code 264 presents The Laramie Project by Moody. Scene.
Welcome to Laramie, Wyoming. Population 26,687.
You would have asked me before. I would have told you that Laramie is a beautiful town. But now for Matthew, I would say that Laramie is a town defined by an accident. I hate crime.
October 6, 1998.
I took off on my bicycle around 5 p.m. from my dorm. I didn't know where I was going, but I was looking around, and then I saw something, which ended up being Matt. And he was just lying there, by the fence. So I ran and I called the police.
I responded to the call. When I got there, I seen what appeared to be a young man tied to a fence. He was covered in dry blood all over his head, and he was barely breathing.
There was nothing I could do. I was yelling at the top of my lungs at him, trying to get something out of him. But he didn't move. He didn't anything.
His shoes were missing, and the only place he didn't have any blood on his face, which is where he was crying.
I was in the emergency room the night Matthew Shepard was brought in. I don't think that any of us can remember seeing a patient in that condition for a long time. You don't expect to see that from someone doing this to another person.
Days later, I saw a picture of Matthew. I would have never recognized him.
Did you hear what happened?
I heard someone was beaten. I heard him dead. Homosexuality is a sin.
We don't condone that kind of lifestyle here.
They say there's been a man who's been beaten in Laramie, and they say his name is
Matthew Shepard.
Our focus turns today to Laramie, Wyoming, where two young men are being charged with the brutal beating of Matthew Shepard, a gay University of Wyoming student who now has hospitalized in critical condition.
The defendants, Aaron James McKinney and Russell Arthur Henderson, tied their victim, Matthew Shepard, to a buck fence, robbed him, tortured him, and beat him.
People would like to think that what happened to Matthew was an exception to the rule, but it was an extreme version of what happens in our schools on a daily basis.
The defendants left the victim begging for his life.
I keep seeing that picture of the night when I found Matthew in my head. And I want to get it out. Why did God want me to find him there?
When I got to the fence, there was such an overwhelming amount of blood. And we always have these cheap protective gloves that always break. So you figure, don't hesitate, you know? Don't hesitate.
I'm a close friend of Matthew's. I did hear from Matthew about 48 hours before his attack. He had told me he had just joined the gay and lesbian group on campus. I mean, he's totally stoked about it.
Probably a day and a half later, the hospital called. Told me Matthew had HIV. And the doctor said he'd been exposed. Like you should see I'd been building something the other night, and my hand had all these open cuts on it. I'm kind of screwed, you know?
On Monday, October 12, 1998, Matthew Shepard's blood pressure began to drop. 12:53 a.m. this morning, Matthew Shepard passed away.
Whenever I think of Matthew, I just think of his incredible being smile. He just made you feel great. The day of the funeral, there were thousands of people and 2 churches filled. But I remember seeing the Reverend Fred Phelps protesting outside the church.
Do you believe in the Bible? The facts are bringing us out here to try to make Matthew Shepard into a poster boy for the gay lifestyle. Do you believe in God?
I decided that someone needed to stand toe-to-toe with this guy. Someone who could show them there's a different way of dealing with that kind of hatred.
We're standing here with God's message. It's homosexuality. Okay. It's being a fag. Okay. What does it mean for you not to be? If God doesn't hate fags, why do you put them in hell?
the charge of aggravated robbery, we find the defendant guilty.
As to the charge of first-degree felony murder, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty!
Aaron McKinney's murder conviction means that he could receive the death penalty. This morning, Matthew Shepard's father made a statement to the court.
My son was left on the outskirts of Laramie, tied to a fence. You, Mr. McKinney, left him out there, by himself. I would like nothing more than to see you die, Mr. McKinney. However, I am going to grant you life, in memory of one who no longer lives. Every time you celebrate Christmas, a birthday, remember that isn't. May you have a long life, and may you thank Matthew every day for it.
Today, why God found me to find out there. It was so he wouldn't have to die alone out there, you know?
I was able to have the HIV test done.
Matthew's like guiding me on this little path. And he just keeps saying, okay, next step.
Matt's speaking, focus worldwide attention on hate. Good is coming out of evil.
Thank you, Matthew.
Whoa.